It's Monday, September 14. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. We begin our newscast with a look at the latest COVID-19 figures as released by the Health and Wellness Ministry. 2 new deaths and 162 new cases of COVID-19 were reported by the Health Ministry on Sunday. This brings the total deaths to 44 and the overall case number to 3,933. The deceased are a 76-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew and a 73-year-old male from St. Catherine. Both had comorbidities. The number of active cases now stand at 2,648. The ministry also reported that 12 persons have been deemed recovered from the virus, pushing that total to 1,161. The breakdown for the new cases is as follows. 74 were reported in St. Catherine, 51 in Kingston and St. Andrew, 6 cases were reported in St. Thomas, 7 in Portland, 1 in St. Mary, 3 in St. Anne, while 2 cases were recorded in both St. James and St. Elizabeth, 11 in Manchester, and 5 in Clarendon. 38 persons remain in government quarantine, while 26,400 persons are in home quarantine. 100 patients are hospitalized, with 28 moderately ill and 7 critical. At this time, there are 465 imported cases and 253 cases of local transmission, while 699 are contacts of confirmed cases. 239 are associated with the St. Catherine workplace cluster, and 2,280 cases are under investigation. A decision will be made this week on the use of rapid COVID-19 tests following a meeting with health experts. That's the word from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton.
On the issue of the antibody testing, it is a conversation that is being had. There are some informal arrangements currently we know in the country where some persons are administering it. There are different varieties or manufacturers, if you will, but there is some value and in the use of both the antigen and antibody testing, as well as, of course, the PCR, which we're using now. There's going to be a meeting early new week. I think it's Tuesday. Yes. Tuesday, where I've asked for all the respective experts, if you will, with both the university, the National Public Health Lab, perhaps a few external experts to come together, where we are going to be having a serious dialogue, and a decision will be taken on where we go as it relates to testing. This is, of course, going to be guided by some of the protocols that I mentioned earlier coming out of the WHO PAHO. So I do anticipate that we will have a much clearer position, and this is the right time to have that position. I know it's a discussion that has been happening for some time, but there are a number of elements that have gone into how we have approached to date the testing protocols, but I think there is a need now to expand that, and the conversation will allow for that post-Tuesday, just to ensure that all are on the same page.
In the meantime, the health minister says his team is also looking at changing its method of diagnosis so that testing will not be the only way to determine whether a person has COVID-19. The health minister says ongoing consultations with stakeholders on measures to combat the community transmission phase of COVID-19 will continue into next week for a comprehensive plan. Having secured a new mandate from the populace in the recent general elections, the government of the ruling Jamaica Labour Party has now taken shape with the appointment of 14 ministers as well as the Attorney General. The swearing-in ceremony took place on Sunday at King's House. We get more in this report.
The new cabinet is made up of mainly holdovers from the previous cabinet that had served as government between 2016 to 2020. Among those that took the oath of allegiance and the oath of office were Desmond Mackenzie, who previously served as Minister of Local Government and Community Development, but will now preside over the local government and rural development ministry. Other appointees are Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Transport and Mining, Robert Montego. Favour Williams now assumes the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Delroy Chuck returns as Minister of Justice. Darrell Vaz takes up the Ministry of Energy, Science and Technology. Minister of Labour and Social Security is now Carl Samuda. Floyd Green has been appointed Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, while Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce is Audley Shaw. Among the new faces are Pernell Charles Jr., who is now Minister of Housing, Herbal Renewal and Environment and Climate Change, while Senator Matthew Samuda now serves as Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Both Everett Warmington and Senator Albin Hill have also been appointed ministers and Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Marlene Malawu Fort was reappointed as Attorney General. Albin Hill and Matthew Samuda were also sworn in as members of the Senate. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen, who presided over the ceremony, admonished the cabinet members to offer their best leadership to the country.
Leadership, whether it's political or not, is never easy. But I trust that the passion, enthusiasm, vigor, and commitment that brought you to this point will enable you to give the best leadership to Jamaica. Leadership that includes habits and practices of loyalty, empathy, accountability, duty and determination, energy and encouragement, respect, selflessness, honor, humility, integrity, innovation, passion for, and pride in your work.
For his part, Prime Minister Andrew Holness urged the government members to serve with integrity and humility.
Especially now with a large majority. My job is even that much more difficult, to ensure that this cabinet, this government, stays in line with the expectations of the people. We are at an inflection point. I hate to use that terminology, but that's where we are. We are at a turning point, a tipping point. Something new and good and powerful can happen in our country by our actions. If we decide, as ministers, to exercise the power and authority vested in you by these instruments, with the highest level of integrity, dignity, and efficiency. Something good can happen in our nation.
4 ministers of government had been previously sworn into office on September 7th by the Governor General, hours after Prime Minister Holness was inaugurated. They are Minister of National Security and Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of Finance and the Public Service Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton, and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. The Ministers of State are expected to be sworn in today, September 14. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
The installation of members of Parliament is slated to take place on Tuesday, September 15 at the Jamaica Conference Centre, Room 1. The Education Ministry says the opening of schools has been delayed because it's working to enable its system to adjust to online learning platforms and to prepare for psychosocial support, which has become necessary due to the impact of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic on traditional teaching and learning methods. Here's more in this report. Safety comes first. Acting Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Cassandra Troop, says while students are awaiting the formal reopening of school, the Education Ministry is working on a series of psychosocial sessions for students.
That big word, It's just really a session with somebody that has the skill set to help you to deal with the anxiety and the fear that you're feeling right now. What is happening? Why we can't go to school? I want to go to school. Somebody will have you express those kind of thoughts and help you to talk about ways you can cope instead of being fearful. Or else can you treat with that fear? How can you utilize your time when you feel nervous? How you can breathe? How you can correct each other and help each other to practice the physical distancing, and also how to wash your hands and all of that.
The psychosocial sessions will be conducted online.
Some persons will be engaged on the virtual space in empowerment and psychosocial counseling sessions, while in extreme cases, right, based on what you're feeling, our social workers, our guidance counselors, our health and family life educators will make themselves available, observing, of course, the physical distancing. If they have to see you based on what is happening, we will make ourselves available.
The start of the new academic year should see the Ministry of Education rolling out its Google G Suite learning management system for schools. Students who benefit from a PATH program will be given tablets to access classes online. The tablets will come with an educational video.
The video will also help you to stay safe. We're going to be having a video helping you to get yourself prepared for school, helping you to help each other social distance, how to wash your hands, all of that we are putting together for you.
The Education Ministry is also implementing a student content app, which includes various quizzes and examination papers, so that students can be better equipped as they prepare for external examinations.
And we have heard the cry of a number of our parents to say, I may not be on PATH, my children may not be beneficiaries, but I still need some help. We are working on that too. So we will be discussing with our principals to see how we can assist some of those persons.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, at his swearing-in ceremony on September 7, pledged to improve broadband connectivity in public schools and expand the Tablets in Schools initiative, starting with procurement of just over 100,000 for teachers and students. Mr. Holness said that all town centres will be serviced with free Wi-Fi and all community access points will be equipped with broadband Wi-Fi access. Outpouring of grief and messages of sadness continues for the late legendary reggae singer Fredrick Toots Hibbert. The 77-year-old reggae superstar died on Friday, September 11 at the University Hospital of the West Indies. Local artists say the late legendary musician will be remembered as someone who portrayed the hardships, struggles, passions and joys of our country in his music. Carol Francis has more in this report.
I want to do the reggae, girl, with you. Yeah, come on to me.
Sometimes referred to as the father of reggae, Fredrick Toots Hibbert was a perennial performer up to his hospitalization. He took part in the Jamaica 58 celebrations in August 2020. He entered the festival song competition with Rise Up Jamaicans.
I said, rise up Jamaicans, stand up and take a stand. We are all God's people. We should live as one.
He formed the group The Maytals in the 1960s. Together, they entered the festival song competition, which launched their career in 1966. They won with their entry called Bam Bam.
I want you to know that I am the man who fights for the right, not for the wrong. Going there and staying here, talking this and talking that. Soon you will find out the man I'm supposed to be.
Fredrick Toots Hibbert won the heart and soul of many in Jamaica and across the world with a range of songs including Sweet and Dandy and 5446. As he became recognized locally and abroad for his distinct sounds and performance skills, he worked with many artists, old and new. Throughout his stellar career, he also received many awards and accolades for his achievements in music from various organizations. The government of Jamaica also bestowed the award of Reggae Icon on him through the Ministry of Culture. The music icon passed away at the University Hospital surrounded by his loved ones after fighting a courageous battle on September 11, 2020. Messages of condolences, memories shared, and tributes continue to dominate social media from thousands of colleagues, friends, and politicians. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the passing of the legendary performer represents a loss to the musical landscape. Fredrick Toots Hibbert was a national treasure, a distinguished creative, as well as a remarkable musician and individual. The Pbcj joins others in sending sincere condolences to his family, friends, and loved ones. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
The Companies Office of Jamaica is opened today, September 14. COJ says the office was closed Thursday to facilitate deep cleaning and sanitization as a precaution. Customers filing documents are encouraged to use the drop box provided to reduce gathering and wait time. The COJ says the public may use the website to register their businesses and companies, conduct searches, request letters and good standing. Leeroy Williams is the new mayor of Montego Bay and chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation. Mr. Williams, who is the councillor for the Montego Bay North Division in St. James, was appointed following the resignation of Homer Davis, who was elected Member of Parliament for St. James Southern in the general elections on September 3. Williams' new appointment is in line with Section 19, subsection 3 of the Local Governance Act of 2016, which states that, quote, in the event of death, resignation, or disqualification from any cause of the chairperson of the council of a municipal corporation, the deputy mayor shall forthwith succeed to the office of chairperson and shall continue in office for the remainder of the term of the chairperson, end quote. Time now for the latest look at the financial market indicators. We join Gabriel Thompson for the business report.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 1,033 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 79 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 32 declined, and 13 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 18 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Blue Par Group Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, Carreras Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with just over 22 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 1.5 million units, and Proven Investments Limited US dollar with under 100,000 units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, September 11 ended trading at $143.86. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $110.74. The pound sterling traded for $187.82, and the euro ended trading at $175.32. Oil prices slipped on Monday amid concerns about a stalled global economic recovery and falling fuel demand as Libya signaled it would end its months-long blockade and resume output, adding yet more supply to the market. Brent crude futures fell 33 cents to $39.50 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 34 cents to $36.99 a barrel. And that's it for the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, hurricane shelters are now outfitted to adhere to COVID-19 protocols, according to the Bahamian State Minister for Disaster Preparedness, who said a recent storm gave his ministry the opportunity to put the necessary measures in place. More in this report.
Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness, Management and Reconstruction, Iram Lewis, said he is pleased with the state of hurricane shelters. Concerns were raised surrounding how COVID-19 protocols, such as social distancing, would be adhered to in shelters, but Lewis said all the necessary steps have been taken.
Isaiah's given us a good chance to do a drill. So we were able to, in addition to getting our gyms ready, our classrooms were ready. We had social services and their management team in place, the Defense Force in place, our shelter managers, volunteers were in place. We had the temperature guns at the facilities checking temperature. We had health staff on hand, and of course, if a person was screened and there were any suspect, we put them in isolated areas. If persons had COVID-19 and they were in the hospital, they will stay at the hospital.
Lewis said plans for shelters were fine-tuned during the passage of Hurricane Isaias.
All of the code protocols, based on our preparation, I'm satisfied, and the fact that we weren't severely impacted by Isaias give us a chance to even fine-tune some of our plans. So I do believe moving forward, of course it's very fluid, it's learn as you go, and we intend to tighten and to continue to improve over time as we go.
With many public schools listed as hurricane shelters, especially on family islands, Lewis said an extra effort is being undertaken to ensure that schools in Abaco and Grand Bahama are built to withstand Category 5 storm winds. Lewis said he is confident that moving forward, the Bahamas has the necessary steps in place to better safeguard citizens during storms.
About approximately $5 million was allocated between schools in Grand Bahama and then Abaco. So that is money that was spent in the Bahamas to Bahamian companies. The work is being closely monitored and managed, and I'm satisfied with the level of work that is being done by Bahamians. I'm satisfied with our workforce, their skill set, and also with our capacity. I do believe now we have the capacity to better manage any disaster moving forward.
Reporting for our News Weekend edition, I'm Georgia Bain.
Still in the Bahamas, following a recent outpouring of social media complaints about the maternity ward at the Princess Margaret Hospital, one member of parliament says government needs to establish a task force to address the needs of the hospital. Bethany McDermott has the details.
Figures how Anglerston Member of Parliament Glenys Hanna-Martin described stories of many women on social media regarding their time at the maternity ward at Princess Margaret Hospital. Hanna-Martin asserted that something is wrong and called on Health Minister Renwood Wells to bring a focus to what is happening in the public hospital.
We're hearing a lot of stories coming out of the maternity ward. I don't know what the facts are, but I'm seeing some distressed and distraught women and families. Something is wrong there. And there has to be, there's been no comments, and there's been no statement made. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. Women are going in to have babies, some are not coming out, babies are not coming out, and there's no stabilizing statement from the Minister of Health. And I want to urge the Minister of Health to bring a focus to what is happening in that hospital.
In recent weeks, a number of women took to social media describing their experience on the maternity ward, some in horrific detail. On Tuesday, Health Minister Renwood Wells said no complaints were filed. Hanna-Martin suggested the government form a task force to identify and address the issues at the hospital.
I think it's very important that the government immediately bring an action task force, not no long story, something very quickly with experts, to bring a quick analysis as to what is not happening in that hospital, including cleaning and basic stuff, and as a result, implement an immediate, urgent action plan to ensure basic standards in that hospital, not fancy stuff, basic.
She also slammed government silence on the matter, adding that there seems to be a serious lapse of leadership in the country.
We are hearing all this noise in the public domain. I say noise, but commentary about what's happening in that hospital and the tragedies that are being asserted. And no one in government feels that they should have the courtesy to address this issue or to say something. This is an incredible lapse in leadership in this country. And I think the women in the maternity ward and throughout the hospital in Nassau and Grand Bahama deserve better. And we have to speak up to insist for better because this is not acceptable.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
In sports, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, recently announced the erection of a statue of Usain Bolt in Water Square, Falmouth, Trelawney, to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the establishment of the town of Falmouth. The statue of the iconic Usain Bolt, nicknamed Lightning Bolt, will be placed in Falmouth's Water Square to commemorate the anniversary of the parish's capital. Our reporter Marlon Samuels has more on the plans and the historic town of Falmouth.
Plans are in high gear to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Falmouth as the capital parish of Trelawney. Trelawney was originally a part of the parish of St. James. After agitation by planters, the parish of Trelawney was formed by an act of the Assembly of Jamaica in 1770. Marthabury village was the first capital of the parish. As the population increased, the capital was moved to Falmouth in 1790. Described as a fashionable seaport town, Falmouth flourished and was the home to the largest market center on the island. Evidence of early Jamaican architecture intertwined with Georgian architecture are still visible in the town. In fact, Falmouth is one of the best preserved Georgian towns in the Caribbean. The Georgian architecture is all around, in centuries-old buildings lining the streets, churches, schools, homes, and even furnishings. Falmouth was the first town in Jamaica to have running water. It also had a plumbing system before many of the major cities in the world, including New York City in the United States of America. Starting in the early 19th century, fresh water was pumped from the nearby Marthabury River to a tank in the square. From there, the water was pumped to the surrounding houses. In its place, there is now a garden and a fountain. Walking distance from Water Square is the Falmouth Pier. The port was renovated to the tune of $180 million to accommodate the newest and largest cruise ships in the world. Still standing is the Phoenix Foundry, constructed in 1810. Shaped like a dome, it is one of the oldest industrial complexes in the island. What is also expected to weather the sands of time is a replica of the statue of the world's fastest man, Usain Bolt. The monument is part of the celebrations planned to mark the 250th anniversary of the capital of Falmouth. The replica of the monument in Statue Park at the National Stadium in Kingston, which was done by sculptor Basil Watson, is now in the island. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
We head to the field with football. Jamaican national Junior Flemmings has capped a league-leading 12th goal of the season, while Bermuda international Ezekiel Lewis netted his 5th, as both forwards were on target in their respective sides to contrasting wins in the United Soccer League over the weekend. At Casino Arizona Field just outside Tempe, the 24-year-old Flemmings found the back of the net twice as Phoenix Rising FC whipped Las Vegas Lights FC 5-1 to win their second straight game and extend their lead at the top of Group B. At Patriot Point near Charleston, the 26-year-old Lewis got on the score sheet with the only goal of the game in the 54th minute as Charleston Battery edged Group H leaders Tampa Bay Rowdies in a top-of-the-table clash. And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. We are the People's Station. Stay safe.